All right, so today's video is going to be focusing on how to grip the MDV folder or the MDV fixed blade. A lot of times I get questions on whether or not somebody's hand size is too large for these blades, and we get feedback on such critiques like that. It is important that when you have a design like this that's very specific in its use, that you understand the creator's original intent on how to hold that so that you can try to apply that and then from there modify it based off of your personal preferences. So let's get into the video so that we can talk about how to grip the MDV knives. All right, so the easiest way to kind of cover this is to talk about how you are supposed to hold a karambit. Now, I didn't design this around a karambit, but I have a very similar thought process on the holding of the blade. Now, a lot of you understand that my thought process behind concealed carry is that it has to be comfortable, it has to be practical. So a lot of times the size of the blade is going to be much smaller than you would prefer. I understand that a large fighting knife would probably be best in a knife fight, but the thing is that in order for somebody to carry these tools on a regular basis, you have to minimize the size of that. That is why the size of the folder and the fixed blade is where it's at. We're talking about a karambit. When you learn how to hold on to this, the first thing is that the thought process that when you open this is that you don't take the ring and you don't place it all the way into your finger like this and grip. And a lot of times for those that are untrained, they hold the karambit in a fashion like that. The way that you are traditionally meant to hold a karambit is to place it between these two knuckles right here, and then to hold it alongside the back of your palm, just like this. So it holds one and then two, and then you rotate your wrist here. So it is aligned just like you would be throwing a punch. Now, for purposes of reinforcing this statement, let's take a look at two videos. The first video is done by Marcaida, and he is talking about his Fox karambit. He is going to reinforce what I just said so that you understand that I'm just not pulling this shit out my ass.
When putting the finger on this particular grip, my preferred grip of carrying the karambit, you want it in between here, called the MCP. You don't want it deeper than that. Anything deeper than that will put undue stress on your own finger. If it's out here, at any point I can remove and I can maintain motion with the karambit.
All right, so as you can see, Doug holds the karambit in the fashion that I was talking about. The next video is with the Kali expert, Logan Lo. He is going to be doing a movement with the karambit, and all I want you to do is just take a look at where his hand positioning is.
He comes in with a stab. I can step off to the side and note that as I do the push-off with the weapon, because of the curvature of the blade, I'm pinning this against his body. I then control the elbow.
All right, so for both of those experts, we're talking about holding a karambit in this fashion. I do understand that there are certain arts out there or styles that do drive the ring all the way forward in this fashion here, but understanding that the traditional thought process behind the karambit, at least for these smaller karambits, is for it to be between these two knuckles is important, so that when we start talking about taking the MDV fixed blade, that same thought process is done here. So you take the hook that is there and you place the blade in your hand in the same fashion, and your thumb is placed on that. And so when I draw that out, I don't have to really worry too much about my hand being too large. If I were to take my hand and drive it all the way forward, it is too small to actually encompass my hand to where it is comfortable. when I drive it into that direction, like I was stating before, it fits well enough in my hand, and then there is enough space for this. Now, with the MDV fixed blade, it was meant to be carried in this fashion for an ice pick grip, as well as for 3 fingers to be placed. That is why there is a groove directly here, as that works in depending on how you want to use it. If I'm placing the blade into a forward grip, it's the same concept. That finger stop is going to be placed between my first knuckle and second knuckle here, and then in turn it is pressed forward, and I can either place my pinky into the hook, allowing my thumb to be driven directly here and then reinforced just like a karambit, or I can take my pinky and wrap it directly around so that I have a grip here. That is the original intent for this. And then any time that I have to do any dragging cuts, I talk about having a forward extension as much as possible for any type of distance cuts. And then anytime you have to drag across, meaning there's a close proximity and you are cutting around, you place the blade all the way in. And for those types of cuts, you would just grip the blade just like this and then clamp between your first finger and thumb, and then locking this here. What that would do is it allows you to manipulate the blade and drag wherever you need to and not have to worry about your hand driving over the top. You'll notice that I don't have any of the tape wrapped in the ways that I usually modify the blade. That is just to show you that the bare knife itself was meant to be carried and functional even without that tape. If you were to talk about the folder itself, then in turn what happens is it's the same thing. In the ice pick grip, that's between those first 2 knuckles as that's rotated in, and then if I were to have it in the forward grip, it's here. My thumb is usually placed on that angle right here, and I cause a sideward angle of pressure, so my thumb is pushing this way as I rotate in. In this fashion, it allows for constant contact as I start to rotate, and that is the original grip that I designed. Now, you can grab this blade however it best suits you and your skills and your needs. But if you were to drive your hand all the way in, I can see why some of you would see or think that your hand is too large. In both of these cases, you have the ability to wrap your pinky around that hook here and create a good solid grip and still have good dexterity with the movements of the blade. And so that was the design of holding on to the MDV style knives. If this changes some things, let me know in the comments below. Let me know your thought process on it. But the thing is that once again, it is always best to understand what the original intent was for the design before trying to overly critique the flaws of what's going on. And so if you want to learn more about these blades as well as the fundamental skills that apply to them, then make sure that you head over to watch.eliteu.com. I hope to see you guys in the next video.